Coming up on First at 4, more rain is expected through the end of the week, but will it lead to any flooding issues? And legislation is filed in Frankfort to provide a legal way for guns to be removed from people going through crisis situations.
Plus, rain chances stick around through this weekend. Your forecast coming up as Mountain News First at 4 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, while rain showers are continuing in the region, experts say it may not lead to the worst of scenarios. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox is in Jackson with more on the weather outlook.
A mix of snow and rain may not lead to dangerous flooding. Those with the National Weather Service office here in Jackson continue to monitor the rain coming through the region. Service hydrologist Pete Jajarian says this weather pattern has kept flooding risk low.
There's still a risk of maybe some minor flooding in low-lying areas, kind of those flood-prone areas that are particularly low. We do have more rain coming, but beyond that, there's not much of a risk for larger creek flooding.
Jajarian says the water content in the snow, along with dry spells recently before these systems, have helped. I'll have more on that at 6. In Jackson, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Jajarian also says they are staying weather aware regardless of the forecast and recommend everyone do so as well.
Well, like Chandler mentioned, we had a relatively dry fall across the mountains, and that led to a drought, and that drought does continue across the region at this time of the year. Let's take a look at that drought monitor that was released today, and as you can see, for many of us in this yellow color, we still have some abnormally dry conditions. A moderate drought for the people in Tan, from Louisa to Jackson to London, also in Somerset and Monticello. So we could still use a little bit of rainfall, and we are tracking some patches of heavy rain in the Cumberland Valley right now, zooming into the heaviest on the board for Pulaski County, into McCreary County, also into Wayne County, close to Monticello at this hour. And here is a live look from Wayne County from the Kentucky Mesonet. We are gloomy, also soggy, and those temperatures at this hour are well above average. We should be in the 40s, most of us right now in the middle to lower 60s, up to 64 in Pikeville, 61 for Jackson, 65 in Manchester, and 66 over in Harlan. More spotty showers are likely as we go into this afternoon, also this evening, but we are tracking a slow drying trend as we go into late tonight, also tomorrow, and those temperatures are once again mild in the middle to lower 50s. Mainly dry on Friday, but more rain chances are looming for the weekend. Those details on the way in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thank you. Well, flooding may not be a big issue this time, but water outages are continuing to cause problems for folks here in the mountains. We do want to share some updates regarding numbers for both Harlan and Perry counties. Officials with the Black Mountain Utility District in Harlan County say there are still roughly 1,000 customers without water today. And here in Perry County, officials say there are around 1,200 customers still without water. Both Black Mountain and Hazard Water customers are under a boil water advisory until further notice. We'll have more on this coming up at 6. Legislation is being filed in Frankfort today that could result in firearms taken away from people having crisis situations. It's called the CAR Act. Some Republicans and Democrats support it. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what supporters said about the bill during a news conference today.
Well, this bill has been talked about quite a bit for the last year or so, and now it is finally being filed as legislation. The CAR Act essentially setting up a process that supporters say is legal to temporarily take guns away from those having a mental health crisis. Supporters gathered in a Capitol Annex room Wednesday to drum up support for the bill that Senators Whitney Westerfield and David Yates were filing. Westerfield is a Republican, Yates is a Democrat, but they say that both sides of the political aisle can agree on the bill that they say protects Second Amendment rights while only taking guns away temporarily. They were joined by Whitney Austin, who survived being shot 12 times during a mass shooting in Cincinnati 6 years ago. She said it's been a struggle getting support for the CAR Act, which stands for Crisis Aversion Rights and Retention, but believes a lot of headway has been made this year alone.
The biggest milestone moment that kicked all of this off was Senator Paul Hornback, the first Republican to say, I want to sponsor this bill, I want to be courageous, and I want to do something to help reduce gun violence.
Senator Westerfield says he believes there is more support for this bill that has been publicly stated, and he says he believes there'll be people that'll vote for it if they know that it has enough votes to pass. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Phil, thank you. It's not known which committee will hear the bill. Senator Westerfield chairs the Judiciary Committee. Coming up on First at 4, how much the grounding of the 737 MAX will cost one airline. We break down the price coming up.
Plus, we are tracking some more mild weather tomorrow before a little bit of a cool down by this weekend. Those details after this break.